Hi, all of you. Welcome back to Collegepond. I would love to say that. South, I would like to start with you. We have a lot of students joining in a moment right now, but in the meanwhile, I would just like you to introduce, you all to introduce yourself one by one, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that opportunity to let me introduce myself. My name is Saud Chek. I'm currently pursuing my master's in information management here at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. The campus is School of Information Sciences, and I'm particularly interested towards data analytics, data science, and consulting. And I'm pretty much blending all of these subjects into my curriculum going forward. Currently, I'm in the second semester, it's the spring semester over here. And yeah, it's been a great experience so far. I mean, whatever you can expect from the US and whatever you dream of before coming here to pursue your masters, you'll definitely be happy to see how it goes about. And it's a whole different experience, and it's a very amazing experience, and as already Krunal mentioned over here. So yeah, no complaints.
Great. And let me start with Abhishri. Abhishri now, after South. Thank you so much, South, for introducing yourself. South, before we go to Abhishri, could you just repeat the name of your university again? University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, right? For those who are attending.
Yeah, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign.
Okay, great.
UIUC.
Thank you so much. Abhishri, over to you. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us about what you've been doing?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So my name is Abhishri. I'm doing the Master of Finance at MIT Sloan right now. And it's been a wonderful experience till now. I'm in the spring semester, which is the second term. It's an 18-month program. One of the major reasons for me to choose the university and the biggest highlights in learning experiences for me has been the international exposure with the program, like it promised. It's one of the most international programs with a diverse mix of people that I had seen when I was looking for colleges. And the experience has given me exactly that. I think the cultural exchange that I'm getting to experience here has actually helped in my learning in classroom in college, and even also building a good circle outside college. So that has been one of the biggest pros for me here. And of course, because of the flexibility of the program and as well as opportunities at MIT, it gives a lot of flexibility to move around the departments within MIT and Sloan. And you get to cross-register, do all kinds of courses with the finance degree. Whether your interests in finance can be very varied, from computer science to trading to investment banking, and the program offers you to do specializations of any kind that you desire. And being 18 months, you can also cross-register with other universities in Boston as well as Harvard. So all of that gives a very good mix of a learning experience, and as well as opportunities at the college for recruiting, as well as the Alumni Network has really helped a lot for me. So again, no complaints with the program, absolutely in love with it and enjoying my experience.
Great. That's absolutely wonderful to know, Abhishri. Let me talk to now Vidhi. Vidhi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much. Hi guys, my name is Vidhi, and I basically have graduated from Rutgers Business School in December 2020, and I had chosen the program of Masters in Information Technology and Analytics. Since I've graduated, I have actually started working as a senior analyst with a company named as Worldwide. It's a media and advertising firm, but it has a lot of exposure for data analytics, data science, and I would really recommend, if people who are looking for opportunities in the data science, data analytics domain, would definitely want to choose this firm. It has a lot of perks and good atmosphere to be in. I've been enjoying so far. It's almost been a year now. I mean, it would be a year in June, but it's been good so far.
Great. And have you found a job so far?
Yeah, I
You're
graduated.
working.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
working.
working.
Yeah, you're working. Okay. Could you
Yeah.
tell me the name of the company again, please? I think I
Yeah,
missed that.
sure. The name of the company is Worldwide. It's
Okay.
headquartered in New York City, and it has,
Okay.
I think, few locations in US as well. I think it's Chicago, LA, SF. Not very sure of other cities or other states in Northeast, but I'm pretty sure it's spread the entire US.
Great. That's nice to know, Vidhi. That's amazing that you guys are doing so well. Let's talk to Krunal now. Krunal, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Kranal Sonpal, and I actually partnered with Collegepond, I think in 2015, 2016, and I wanted to pursue my master's degree. It's been 4 years since I graduated from North Carolina State University. I currently work as a vice president of a global supply chain management team at Bank of New York in New York City. Um, Honestly, for me, partnering with Collegepond helped me understand the options that I had given my specializations that I wanted to pursue. And joining NC State really gave me that ability to work with different departments, explore different options within the supply chain field, and really choose my masters. It's also interesting that I've had like a couple of jobs, and both of them were directly or indirectly related to the people I met during my master's degree. So just the fact that having that ability to network and meet individuals that can potentially lead to opportunities that are somehow life-changing really helps. And yeah, I really like interacting with students who plan to pursue uh, education, especially coming to a country where they might not necessarily have a lot of resources.
I'm so glad to know about your experiences, and I'm so I know it's a little late in the day to say this. You're already 4 years in the US and you experienced a lot of life there. But I think it's it's the journey, I'm sure, has been amazing for you, and I'm looking forward to hearing about the specifics of your experiences in today's interview. I would like to move to Rutvij. Rutvij, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Please go ahead.
So, Rutvij, I graduated in 2019 from Carnegie Mellon, Masters in Cybersecurity. I'm at Palo Alto Networks right now. I fix broken firewalls. I work in virtualization, which essentially means that if you have a firewall, a software-defined firewall hosted on a public cloud platform, I fix it. Interesting work. My master's degree helped me prepare to a great extent. No one at Carnegie Mellon knew no one at Palo Alto Networks, but they tried their best to get me here, and super appreciative of it.
Wow, Rutvij, you are basically like the internal, like the protection, the wall, as they call Rahul Dravid for companies, and that's what you. I'm so sorry for the cheesy joke at the beginning, but this is what you do. I mean, a lot of students who go to cybersecurity, they don't have the real information about what actually happens, in this in the cybersecurity domain when it comes to your actual job role. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it for you to throw some light on that as well, what exactly you guys do and how the technologies that you use that probably are way too advanced, and something that these students should be looking forward to learning. And I would also like to ask you personally a little bit about, because a lot of students ask us what are the things that I should do before getting in, because we don't get that kind of exposure to such technologies in our undergrad. Sometimes sometimes we do through our projects and sometimes we don't do. So I think your practical experience would also help all of you, in fact, but especially cybersecurity and all. It's very exciting for a lot of students to know what exactly happens at at the other side. So I'm looking forward to that, Rutvij, today from you.
Oh, yeah, anytime.
Okay. Let's talk to John now. John, welcome. Hi. Please introduce yourself to our current set of students. John, can you hear me? Okay, I think his screen is frozen. Till he comes here, let me talk to Stuti. Hi, Stuti. How are you?
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Stuti. Please
Hi,
introduce
everyone.
yourself.
I'm Stuti. Thanks, Collegepond, for organizing this and giving me an opportunity to come and talk to all the students who want to pursue masters in the US and want to take charge of their career and their dreams. So I worked with the Collegepond team in 2017, where I wanted to pursue a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering. So I graduated with a master's from University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And since then, it's been 3 years. I have been working as a lead data scientist at Intel. And it has been an amazing journey so far. Can't thank Collegepond enough for their mentorship and guidance during my application process and, connecting me with the relevant resources required. And throughout my master's degree, I think I have learned a lot. The graduate course has really helped me to, sharpen my skills, make me marketable, and get me good opportunities in the industry. And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing so far. I think it's very challenging. And being a data scientist, I think there are a ton of opportunities here. So yeah, happy to answer any questions any of you have. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stuti. It's a pleasure to see all of you, in fact, and especially with so much work experience and, life experience overall. It's going to be a great session today. I can actually feel the energy in the audience right now. People are gearing up with their questions, I'm sure. And I can see some questions as well. So, John, I think you are with us right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, of course. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm John. I was a part of UMass Amherst Masters in Computer Science program. I graduated in 2021, and since then I've been working in Amazon as a software developer. I work for the Amazon ads team. So I was a part of Collegepond in 2018, and they really helped me, modify my profile and take it to the level where I was able to receive 5-6 admits, because before joining Collegepond, I was like, oh, what is happening with my life? Kahan jaane wala hu, that way. And my experience at UMass Amherst was also really good, because it being a small town, it actually helped me integrate with US life very easily. There was absolutely close to zero culture shock for me. So, it was not much difference in terms of a lifestyle change, and the course itself was pretty good. It's a huge brand name, so getting a job was not that difficult. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has related to life in the US and general computer science and things like that.
Great. It's an honor to talk to you guys, all of you today. And I'm sure, when we talk in detail about your experiences, especially, your whole journey today, it's going to be really, really amazing for our students who are listening right now. For those of you who have joined just now, let me introduce myself as well. I am Sneha Shah from Collegepond. I'm one of the senior counselors here. Some of you know me, some of you don't know me, and that's completely okay. We get to know each other today again. And before we go ahead, let me just familiarize you guys with a little bit of the structure for today's webinar. We can divide this into 3 parts majorly. One is your transition from your India to your college or the university. It's going to be probably difficult for those of you who have spent 3 years plus. It's way back in history. It may seem like way back in history now. But the first part of the webinar would revolve around your transition from India, from your school to your to your university that you went there. And the second part would be your whole process in the university, your curriculum and your flexibility with the curriculum, your roommate hunting and your other personal experiences, traveling, chilling, everything. And then the third part would revolve around your now I'm graduated, what now, what's the end goal, what do I do, what kind of job opportunities or career opportunities I'm looking at. So these are the broad categories that we will divide the webinar in, and feel free to pitch in. Now for the audience who are here live with us, I understand that you have a lot of questions, but what we'll do is we'll take it as we go. We'll just ask these mentors of ours some questions and let them answer that organically throughout the webinar. And if we've not answered anything, then maybe towards the end you can put your questions, and we'll take all the questions and answers towards the end. So I hope that's okay with everyone. Whenever you have a question, maybe you can just drop a chat in the chat box, and we'll definitely address it towards the end, right? So that we don't break the flow of the information and the experiences, the amazing experiences that these guys are going to share with us today. So let's begin. Let's talk a little bit about you guys, your transition. So maybe one by one, how was the transition? Especially, a lot of parents would want to know this. Like, do you guys feel homesick, and how was it initially when you landed there in your university? So maybe we could start right now. Let's go alphabetically this time. Let's start with Abhishri.
I hate my name right now, but okay. So the transition for me, honestly, was quite smooth for two reasons. A, I had loads of help, resources back in India, Collegepond being one of them, when it comes to visa. Also, the time I transitioned was during COVID, with a lot of uncertainty related to visa, related to travel, and whether the course would be online, offline, all of that. But luckily for me, everything went smoothly. We were able to get one step after the other done, but quite smoothly. And I got the opportunity to do the whole course offline on campus with everything in person. So for that, I think the experience was a lot better than the hopes I had kept because of COVID. Secondly, also because, like I said, the international exposure here, because almost 85% of my cohort, which is about 150 students right now, is international. And that's what really helped make the transition quite smooth, because I didn't face any culture shock as such. People really prepared me for the Americanism, but I don't think I really got to face it as such, because I always try to have like a mixed group of people around me. Also, not the one advice would always be to not always stick to people from your home country, but at the same time have them as your support system. So that actually helps you get a good experience in interacting with people from all around the world, and at the same time not feel homesick because you always have people from India as your close group and everything. So all of that made my experience quite good. Talking about other things back in the college and university, again, I never felt homesick because of the support system and friend circle I was able to build. At the same time, the program is so rigorous, honestly, that you don't get time to think about all of that. And other than academics and recruiting and all the things that you have to do, there's always so much going on in the university. And I think you only have to make time to experience all of it, sort of be inquisitive and excited to experience it all. For me, I knew this was my last university experience. So I prepared myself to take on as many activities as I could, even outside classroom. I didn't want to restrict myself to make it a very academically centric experience. So I think a good mix of academics and events and all of that made it a really good experience for me starting on.
Some excellent advice, Abhishri, about not sticking to just your people from your, your close knit, basically getting out of your comfort zone is what you meant.
Right.
Anybody else would like to add anything to it? Vidhi, John, Rutvij, anybody else who would like to add anything? To anybody who felt actually homesick? Abhishri saying she didn't feel homesick at all. Anybody who felt homesick actually?
All the damn time.
You did?
All the time.
Okay. How did you overcome that? How did you overcome that?
There's nothing you can do. It's regular WhatsApp calls to home, in the hopes that they're awake, because there's a 12-hour shift or whatever.
Yeah.
It's tough. You won't get to talk to home very often, because you'll spend nights at university. You won't have time, you have deadlines, stuff like that, but you persevere. That's what you do, right?
I'm so glad you're not sugarcoating it. But then, would you like to have any advice? Like, would you like to give any advice to people who are planning to come this year? Like, you guys actually landed there. I think some of you, at least, who landed there during the COVID season, and that actually makes it more difficult because you can't even go out of your apartment. But then, for those of you who went before COVID, and even you felt homesick and everything, so what advice would you like to give to someone who's planning to come this year now?
So me personally,
Go ahead.
Me personally, I don't think. So I'm talking about homesick in the context that I'm missing home. I'm missing Mumbai. I'm missing Ahmedabad, where I'm from. Getting out of the house is, well, now at least it's going to be, it's better, much better now. What with the vaccinations and everything, but I recommend setting aside an hour of the day. So you know what, I'm going to call X, Y, and Z at 9 p.m. I'm going to set aside this much time for social activities on your phone, because you lose your phone habits fast, right? Like you stop texting people fast. They wonder what's happened to you. That's gonna happen. So it's important to have that discipline, ironically.
Okay. Krunal, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
No, it's definitely relatable to what Rutvij mentioned, especially when it comes to texting, because I personally heard a lot of complaints from people, but the fact is and a lot of people who just reaching don't realize is that life here is very hectic. Like, especially if you're from Bombay, you felt that it is fast paced. Over here, like things are not as fast, but the amount of deadlines and the amount of tasks at hand, which could be related to what you're pursuing, while as basic things as just making your own dinner or like cleaning your closet, also takes up a lot of time. Things that you don't possibly realize when you're back home. Um, Also, one thing that I actually ended up doing, and I was fortunate to have that ability to do, was I fly to India quite frequently. So, like I reached the US, I think around July of 2016, and since then I've been there at least like once a year, including in 2016. So just having that ability to be with your family, especially like the vacations in the US are pretty good, especially when you're a student. Like you have a decent summer break, unless you have your internship signed up, or even during winter. So just planning your schedule around traveling, not just to India, but also like there have been instances where I met my family in other countries. So because one thing that a lot of my friends and I've realized is that traveling internationally becomes difficult because when you tell your family that you're going to Europe, they're like, why not just come to India? So it's just trying to maintain that balance, and keeping in touch that helps. Yeah.
Right. Excellent advice. A lot of students, someone who's wants to.
Yeah, please go ahead. I can get to you after.
South, did you say something?
Yeah.
So, please add.
What I was saying is, so many people keep asking me that, so you're pursuing masters in information science, and please tell us how should we prepare and what are the courses should we undertake so we can keep ourselves completely engaged. I try my level best to suggest one thing which is very important, that the only few months that you have in your hand right now before coming here, it's definitely important to upskill yourself, but also make sure to spend equal amount of time with your family, because that is not going to come again and again. And you also need to keep in mind that along with upskilling, you need to spend quality time with your family right now. I mean, I have all of those charts, all of those amazing food that you love from your mom's hand. So all of that really helps.
Would you like to add learning how to cook from your mom?
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I enjoy cooking a lot, and I'm the biryani guy of my particular cohort. So yeah, that cooking is definitely something. If you know it well, you'll be loved a lot, and it's easier to network that way. Network over food, as everyone says. So yeah, coming back to the point of being homesick, you definitely tend to miss your family, especially when there are festivals. But yeah, again, as my fellow peers have here already spoken about that, um, if you have already a support system in the form of Indian friends, so that really helps, as Abhishek already spoke about it. So yeah, I completely agree to that. And again, second advice would be that if you have a good part-time, let's say you get a TA ship, you get a GA, or you get a RA, try to save some money. And it's important, as Kunal mentioned, to frequently, periodically travel back to India, because that definitely helps to keep a touch on your family. So if you save a good amount of money from your part time and plan your journey ahead of time, at least 2 months prior to the vacation phase, then you definitely be able to go back to India at a reasonable rate. So yeah, that's all from my end.
Great. Now that you said that you go back to India, you're planning to say something, Stuti? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just like to add, sorry, just
go
one
ahead.
small advice to everyone. If you know some seniors in your university, or people who are already living where you're planning to relocate, I would just recommend talking to them, because when I was moving, I remember just talking to seniors about every small detail, like where do I get an apartment, or which is the closest place for commute, or how do I travel to my classes, and where do I get my groceries from, and where is the hospital, and just small things. Seniors who are already there at the university can really help you figure all of that out. So yeah, make
I'm
friends
sure
with your
you're going to
seniors.
get a lot of LinkedIn requests now after this. I'm sure after you said this. Okay. You guys are, also talking about transition, and one of the important parts of transition right now for a lot of students is how is a student visa going to happen. A lot of people are really puzzled about that whole process, and you guys went through it actually. So if someone would like to throw a little bit of light, maybe Vidhi or Stuti, maybe if anyone who could throw some light on how was your student visa process, and was it little, was it nerve wracking, or was it smooth for you? How did things go? And because this is an important part of your transition, right? Now that you've gotten an admit, you need to know what you should be doing, to get a visa. And a lot of people were facing problems last year, especially in getting the dates, and this year as well people are worried. Okay, so any two bits from you guys about the student visa?
For student visa, I think the time when I was actually going for my student visa, finding a date was difficult back then as well. But I think it's all about finding the right time. I mean, just try to book it on the right time of the day. Probably not the peak time of the day. Probably at some random hours, like probably 12 a.m., 1 a.m., or probably in the afternoon. I would really recommend, if people are looking for booking time slots, I would say go somewhere around 2-ish, 3-ish. Probably that's the time when people are not active on booking their slots. Probably you could look out for timings then. But for visa, I think only the toughest part for me, for my experience, I would say, was only getting the slot. But after that, you have the nerve. Of course, everyone will have the nerve when you're going there. You would be tensed about, will I get it? What type of questions would they ask? Would they just grill me over there? But I would really recommend that please be honest. Please be honest. Tell them whatever it is. If you have some relatives in the US, tell them. If you don't tell them, they are anyway going to find that out, because they have all the information on their computer right in front of them. So I would really recommend just stay positive, whatever it is, whatever truth it is. And probably Collegepond is the best place. They're going to prepare you like the best to help them answer exactly whatever questions they are going to ask you. They are going to prepare them. So I'm pretty sure you're going to have a good experience. Just go there and be confident. That's my advice.
Thank you so much, Vidhi. Anybody has any jugaad for booking dates? Did anybody follow anything like that? Like Vidhi was talking about logging in at a
Yeah.
particular time. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me.
Yeah. So I think just last year, before coming, it was COVID times, and the slots had just opened after May or something, if I properly recall. And at that time, there was a huge traffic on the websites usually, and there was some odd rule of the appointments opening up at every 20th minute of the day. So at every odd hour, there was this odd 20th minute where a couple of slots would open, and people, couple of my friends, they did manage to get a slot by being patient and logging in again and again at the 20th minute. But again, you need to be very careful, because there are restricted amount of logins throughout the day. And as Vidhi just mentioned, yes, definitely, if you're waking up early in the morning, let's say 4:30 a.m., you could get lucky, and there could be slots available at during that time, and you could definitely get them. Again, if you don't manage to get a normal appointment, do not feel that it's the end of the world. There's something called as emergency appointments, and even if you're not able to understand the process, please feel free to reach out to Collegepond, because during my time, my friends and I, we were not shy to reach out to the counselors and seek help from them, and they were very hard when explaining us the process, and it was definitely very helpful. So make sure to also acquire enough knowledge about the emergency appointments, because they do come in handy. Many friends of mine, they tried for a month straight away, and they could not get an appointment, but they could get one using the emergency appointment. So yeah, it's like that.
Great. I think it's like an eye opener for a lot of them who are right now looking at dates, and who are basically also looking at how is it going to happen next year. Okay, because there's a lot of worry around this particular thing. Moving on to from transition to your curriculum, to your college life, I'm sure
Sneha, I'd like to add one thing about the visa process. I'd like to add to what Saud said. One thing that worked last time, because of the heavy traffic, and like he mentioned how there were such limited spots and was almost difficult to get a spot. Also because India and the number of students applying and everything makes it even more crazy. One thing that a lot of the groups coming to the US were doing is that basically I had a group of students who were coming to this university, and what we tried to do was just optimize, which is that everybody took a certain time period, and they used to log in at that particular time, and then communicate to the group if they found a slot. Because again, logging in, I think more than 3 or 4 times a day, I think logged you out for 3 days permanently, which is a huge loss of opportunity if you can't book appointments for 4 days. So that's how we just optimized and communicated on the group for everybody else, so that all of us could get slots at the same time. Nobody lost opportunities by staying out of not being able to book appointments and everything. And
how
second
exactly
is,
did this work? They just like one of them took the onus, and I'll log in and I'll check and I'll inform, and then
so like every hour. Every hour,
like
one person logged in, and then there were like 10 or 15 people in the group, and then we just took turns. And somehow or the other, within 15-20 days, everybody got slots. Everybody was happy.
Wow, that's some teamwork. That's some amazing teamwork.
Yeah, that's worked. And second would just be to tell you that, like all the students, that there's nothing to worry about visas. Most of the time, it does work. And you just have to be honest, like Vidhi said. At the same time, it's important to realize that all students are, at the end of the day, big sources of revenue for the US. So they want you a lot more than you think, and they will want to get you here. And with all the facilities provided for getting emergency visas and everything else, you'll definitely get visa appointments. So again, Collegepond resources were amazing for all the visa interviews and all the documents you need and everything, finance, etc. So leverage all of that and just be patient. And like the visa process is made out to be a lot more stressful, but it's almost as smooth as coming to the US.
Nice. And Rutvij, were you saying something in between? Sorry. South.
I mean, I was just going to say that trust Collegepond. They know what to do. End of story.
Okay.
Seriously, that's how I went about it.
Thank you.
Interview. The only important question I was asked was what university you're going to, and then after that it was small talk. It's like they didn't really care what I said.
Great. But the preparation made you confident, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay.
That's Collegepond. End of story.
We over prepare kind of sometimes, but then that's required, I feel, sometimes. But yeah, moving on to the transition to your curriculums and to your college life, and this is where I'm expecting a lot of stories from you guys. How has been your college life? I want to know everything about things like how flexible your curriculum was, and if any one of you got RAs, TA-ships during your studies there, how did you get them, and things like that. So maybe this time we can start with South. You want to talk? John hasn't spoken much. Let me start with John now. John, tell me about your curriculum and how did you enjoy, about the flexibility in your courses and things like that.
So UMass curriculum is actually pretty good. Like, there are like a wide variety of subjects to choose from. But most of them are like artificial intelligence, machine learning related. So it's not like, you can easily get a cyber security subject or things like that. So that depends from university to university. Some universities do have a bigger focus on certain things. So UMass's focus is more on AI, ML, data science and things. So there were actually way too many subjects to choose from there. So it actually at times it happened that it was becoming a pain to select 10 subjects because you wanted to study like 12, 13. But if you want to study 12, 13, you have to pay extra fees, and per subject education does not come cheap. So yeah, you have to you'll have to talk to a lot of people to figure out what subjects are good, what profs are good. That's I spoke to my seniors repeatedly for taking reviews on professors for specific subjects, and I would say that out of my 10 subjects I got 7 spot on. 3 I made bad decisions, but that will happen. It's not an exact science. You just have to be and you get like at most 2 weeks to decide on a subject. So it's not like you can decide a subject and then drop it midway. That's not allowed. It's not allowed mostly for international students. So other than that, yeah, so that was pretty flexible. And in terms of TARA opportunities, when I was studying, UMass actually had a fair amount of TA opportunities, not RA, but TA opportunities they did have. But now the computer science department has kind of cracked down on international students not being able to do a TA because they had to give a fee waiver and everything. So I think other departments are, as far as I know, the other departments are still flexible with giving TAs to students, but it's only the computer science department. And I know that majority of people who go to UMass Amherst go for computer science. So that's why I was specifying that. And but then having said that, I think if you're like persistent enough, you talk to a lot of. So I got my TA by just emailing profs randomly. I created the opportunity for myself. It was not like a listing or anything somewhere. So if you talk to enough people, you email enough professors, you basically project yourself out there, I do think you will be able to create an opportunity for yourself, even if it takes a little bit more time than some other university. So yep, that was about it.
Who else would like to talk about it, like your RATA experiences and your curriculum related experiences?
I could go.
Yeah, please.
So at Carnegie Mellon, you don't work against a fee waiver. You get paid a flat rate for a TA, for an RA. I've done both simultaneously. It doesn't, you get paid $10 an hour or $15 an hour. for a TA, you just apply. There's no amount of networking is going to help. You get good grades, you show enough interest, you get the TA. Everyone gets a TA. The trick is to get to be a TA in a subject that is going to be important in your career. I TA'd a cloud security class, which was important for me because that's what I do right now. Getting an RA is very helpful. Getting an RA, doing any kind of research is always going to be very helpful. It doesn't pay well, I guess. It does. You don't get course credits in exchange, but rent goes away. You don't pay for rent more often than not, whatever. The curriculum is exhausting. So at CMU, you have many classes that you can take. And on a very wide spectrum of technical to non-technical related to cybersecurity. I'm going to digress a bit and talk about cybersecurity in general. It's not just cybersecurity. There's multiple things involved. There's you talk about compliance, you talk about risk, you talk about security on the cloud, network security, ethical hacking, penetration testing, VAPT, app security, web app security. There's so many things there. You need to at least within your first 2 semesters, in a 4-semester program, you should know where you're at after a year, after 2 semesters. Right. So coming back to what I was saying. So there's you can take classes from anywhere, from different schools as well. I am from a school that was not as technical as another school, but I took classes from there the whole time. I was fine. That helped me much more, getting a much more technical profile. You can take more than what you have. Then you can take more than what's normal. If you have a decent GPA, you can get even more than that. So you're learning even more, basically. You don't pay extra. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of nights spent at the library. I personally spent every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night at the Heinz College Library, at the CMU library. It's tiring. It's draining, but it's worth it.
I'm curious. I'm just curious right now. Do you think having any prior research experience here in India, maybe some research paper or something, do you think that plays a role in your selection as a TA or an RA there, especially as an RA? No, it's just your good grades there and your how well you apply. That's it.
For an RA, so what? Okay, so I did nothing during my 4 years in undergrad. So should I be, I don't know,
worried?
No. Okay, yeah. Should I be worried? I mean, no, right? Why should I be? Okay, how do I say this without starting a war? I should have at least a level playing field, even if I don't have the research. So it's fine if you prefer someone else over me because they have more research than I do, but at least get me the same interview that you're giving to the other person, and that's where you excel. No, that's what you prepare for. It helps, sure, that's going to be the standard answer, but yeah, it's more often than not, your actual research and actual experience here is going to be more important compared to, well, here in the US is going to be more important than the research you did in India, I think.
Great. Anybody would like to add anything to the RATA bit and the curriculum bit about the flexibility and everything?
Sure. So I was actually an RA for close to a year. And in my case, like I joined NC State University for one major, but the thing was like I graduated from DJ Sangvi and I directly came to the US. So I did not really have that professional experience to be sure of what I wanted. Like the major that I chose was based on a few courses that I had done during my undergrad, and just realized that, it's way different than what I had assumed it would be. And I realized that need for change. So I actually spent my first couple of semesters just exploring courses within different fields, similar to what I was enrolled for, but with different focuses. And being in the US and having spoken to multiple friends at different universities, almost all places have that flexibility where you have the ability to really explore courses. And even if you have a decent GPA, you have the ability to switch your majors, which I was able to do. Uh, my RA was actually with the MBA school. And I was actually one of the very few people from engineering school doing courses with the MBA university, MBA college. And for me, it was a simple case where I performed well in the course and reached out to the professor, and they were able to get me on board. I did have a lot of perks being an RA, which included a great stipend. While at the same time, I had my own office. So I all my group meetings or team meetings were in my office instead of going to a library, which at times can be a bit chaotic. Uh, Also, I'll just say that um, yeah, especially at NC State, we did not have our credit structure was a little unique as compared to a lot of other places, where if you took 9 credits or 15, the fees were the same. So I did have that ability to sign up for extra courses, some of them including like wine tasting or something that probably I would not be able to do elsewhere. Just because your work does get hectic and the ability to network outside of your domain reduces. So just meeting people from different fields, meeting students and interacting with them definitely helped. So yeah, just keep exploring. See if you find something interesting, try and see if you can get enrolled. And lastly, like over here, it's not that they take attendance during all the courses. So even if you just want to sit for a lecture with your friend's class, you can just go in and sit. And more than uh, never, like the professor would never throw you out of the class if you like don't do it. Maybe that's the most they could do. So yeah.
Okay. I do see some questions coming in for some of the panelists here. So I'm just going to quickly run through them and see if anyone of you can answer that. But before I go to that, does anybody else wants to talk about it? I mean, since this is a virtual platform, I'm sorry if I'm just not, addressing everyone and asking the same question. But guys, please feel free to give us your experience. Just pitch in, button in between. That's absolutely fine. We're here for your experiences. So if anyone just wants to say anything about their RATI experiences or their curriculum and what they want to say about it, please feel free to just go ahead and talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah,
I had a few.
Yeah, Abhishek, please go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just few points to add. So I don't have experience of an RATA yet. Maybe in the next semester, I might take that up. But for the curriculum and everything, I think somebody already said it, that talking to people who've already been at the university, seniors or people who graduated, is the best way. For me, I did that, but I think I didn't do it enough from this perspective. I focused too much on the recruiting aspect and more about life in the US. But again, talking about like academics to the last detail also helps. Because from whatever I got to know from the website or from any information that is marketed by the university, that's good, but that's never enough, because once you're into the program, I think it gets quite rigorous. And then as you go on, you realize there are a lot more opportunities and there's a lot more than you can actually put your hands on. So obviously talking about all of these and asking the right questions to seniors helps. Again, secondly, keeping an open mind when it comes to how you want to curate your degree also helps. Obviously having, some clarity of the goals of what your interests are and what you want to do as part of like the courses and other activities is good. but at the same time, keep your mind open, because like once I came to the university, I realized that I could do so many more interesting courses that were not mainstream finance, but again, that interested me. For example, this was not for me, but like there's a course called Sports Analytics at MIT, and it's like one of the most popular courses, and it's got nothing to do with finance. It's got nothing to do with machine learning or AI, but it's just an interesting course that's attractive to a lot more people here. So that, and there are like a lot of different courses that keep happening, that keep getting introduced, that even your seniors might not know about. So just keeping an eye out for all of these things, keeping an open mind. And again, you can obviously take on a lot more credits than you're allowed, because you can take on courses as just a listener. Half the time you can also just go and sit in classes you're not registered for, and nobody's going to mind it. In COVID, that was sometimes an issue because of the class size and everything, but this will not be a problem next year. You can sit in whatever class you want. Nobody's going to stop you. You, like in most universities, you can take classes as pass or fail. So you don't have to get like an A grade in that class. You just have to do bare minimum, and that won't affect your GPA as well. And you can get the most out of the class as well. So there are various ways of actually getting the experience of more number of classes that you can have on your grade report.
And how hectic was it? Like you said, it gets rigorous somewhere in between, and then like, did you like study for 18 hours straight any day? And you did anybody
I don't
do
think
that?
Not sustainably. There were obviously a few days or like a week or two in a semester when it gets that hectic, but I don't think it's sustainable to work 18 hours a day for 4 months continuously. I would not be able to do it. And but there are times when it does get hectic, but there are also times when it's a good mix of things outside class that's happening that also makes it hectic. So it's hectic not just because you're studying the whole time with the book in front of you. Also, another thing that I wasn't prepared for is that I knew that there was a lot more practical side to things, and the kind of education that US has is a lot more practical back in home. But at the same time, I realized that more than 50 to 60% of the time, my work would actually be not studying or reading out of a book or like a curriculum, but more about implementing something. So that would just be working on some tools, or some kind of programming, or any other software, basically. So that was also part of the learning experience, where I got to learn about 3 or 4 different softwares, or get to learn programming in a different language from scratch. So that's also part of the learning experience that makes it more challenging, because I think all of us, because of how education is in India, are used to studying for long hours, and we're prepared for it. But it's not just studying, it's a lot more work that comes in with the academics. That also makes it hectic.
Great.
I'll just add to what she mentioned before I drop. So basically, yes, as she just spoke, like there's a lot of practical courses available. And I do recommend a lot of my juniors to take those up. And 2 major reasons is, one, you get to learn new tools and softwares. But also, secondly, a lot of these courses allow you to partner up with companies within the vicinity. And just a lot of people do not have a lot of experience when they come to do their masters. So just getting that on your resume, where you worked with a Fortune 500 company and shown results, they even convert you to a full-time employee if they have the ability to, helps you quite a bit. Also, I personally haven't ever pulled a all-nighter. The education system here is much different than what we are traditionally used to. Uh, you do realize that it can get hectic, and the way that the exams and everything is scheduled, it's not something where you need to buy hard answers, but it's a case where you have to understand concepts and apply those concepts to reach a conclusion, which for me was a struggle initially when I moved in. It's like doing bare minimum to even be able to transition to the next semester. But once you really understand the way the system works, and you start appreciating the thought process that goes behind creating the way the curriculum is created, you do get a grasp of it, and really understand what the course is meant to teach you. So just not being open to um, learning a different way of teaching and training your brain that it's not just about scoring, but it's about learning.
Hmm.
And personally, I've had like multiple job opportunities and multiple interviews. And even take interviews, and it's like I've never asked anyone what their GPA is. So it's something that is a little, I would say, glorified, but
Hmm.
it does not really matter till the time you're doing what you want to do. So
Great,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
And I know you have to drop out, but please, could you just say your LinkedIn? How can people
I just
contact you?
posted.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
just
just
posted it in
posted.
the chat. Thank you so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
Krunpal. Just be there till the time you can be. Your inputs have been really, really helpful. Vidhi, and I think Stuti, you haven't had an opportunity to speak a lot. Do you guys want to give your bits about the curriculum at your university and anything like that? Vidhi, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I think most of it is covered, but I'd like to add a few things. The first one being that I would really, I mean, I would really suggest students to look out for more number of subjects when they're actually looking to select a particular course, because there are few courses which majority of the students are planning to take, and the courses would open up for only a certain number of hours. And those courses are so popular that those courses would go on in just few minutes. So
Mhm.
I think it's better that there are options that you could request special request to your course advisor or a course mentor, that if you want to have it as your main course, they would give you a seat. But sometimes it has happened with me that this one particular course I wanted to take, but I couldn't get it because the seats were already full.
Hmm.
And also there are courses that won't be available in both the semesters. I mean, some courses would be available only for fall, some would be available only for spring. So I would really say that before selecting, or you just don't come here in the US and start selecting for courses, I would really suggest that when you are in India, please make sure what are the courses that you want to pursue, and make a list of backup options as well. And in case you don't get your first choice of course, I think every university has an option of add drop period, wherein you could sit for, I mean, this is the first day you're going to college, let's say, and you sat for one course, but you think probably the course is not right for you, the professor is not right for you, and you think you might not be able to sit for this lecture since it clashes with some other lecture, then there is a possibility. I think there is about 1 week or 2 week of add drop period wherein you could just switch on courses. So be sure of attending all classes in the first week itself to see which courses you want to take, because there might be courses where you thought that, oh, this course is very good, I think I want to go. But when you go there, you attend the lecture, you might think, oh, I don't think this is for me. So it's good that you should attend all, not all, but majority of the courses, and then select in the add drop period which courses you would want to take. So this is my tip for the add drop period. Basically, I wanted to cover this. And apart from that, if I talk about my experience, as everyone said, all the courses, all the university courses would be flexible, and they are not just pertaining to your field. You can obviously choose courses from other fields as well, and I guess as Abhishri mentioned earlier. So just be sure, be prepared what you want to do, and I think that's the way you to go about it.
Great. What's your take on this, Stuti?
Yeah, I would like to add to Vidhi's point. Like she mentioned, there is the ad drop period. I think, yeah, that was really helpful for me too. And what I did when the course registration started is I would just put more courses in my bucket. Like I would just register for all the courses I was interested to attend. And then with the ad drop period, I had the option to like drop the courses I wasn't interested in or wasn't sure about, and just take the ones that were good for me. And at least I can speak to my experience at University of Michigan. The curriculum is really flexible. So I was in the EC department, and within EC department, there are a list of specializations. So my specialization was signal processing and machine learning. But so for each specialization, they have a list of fixed courses, like these 3 or 4 courses you are required to take if you are graduating with the specialization. But it was very flexible in the sense you could change your specialization. You could even change your department. I know people who have changed from ECE to CS and to IOE and so on. So it's very flexible, and you can, and the good thing over here is like if you take 12 plus credits in a semester, the fee that they charge you is a flat rate. So anything you take about 12 credits is, you can take unlimited amount of courses with the same fee.
Is
so,
it sustainable?
Yeah, but people used to do it because, you know, at least you can take 16 credits, 16 to 18 credits. I know people have done in one semester. So along with an RA. So it's not impossible, but yeah, if you want to like, you know, explore different courses and make the most out of your money, then it's really good that way. And about RA and TA, there are different kinds of RA and TA opportunities here. So for RA, there can be hourly RA. That's what most professors would give you. So initially, like since I was coming in as an international student, professors didn't really know me. I didn't really have any history at the university, like no GPA.
Undergrad, yeah.
My undergrad GPA is not really something that professors would consider. So they would just say, okay, just do one semester. Let's see at the end of first semester, what are your grades? And then they were, so after 1 or 2 semesters, after I had a good GPA or after I had good grades, and then I talked to professors, they would be more interested to take me on as a RA or a TA, and also meeting up in person for interviews, which was very difficult for me to do it virtually from India. Like from India, trying to convince a professor to take me as their TA was difficult for me. So I would just recommend after you go into the university, like after first semester, just stop into the professor's office and say, hi, my name is Tuti and I'm doing masters in this courses and I would like to be a TA for your course and so on.
Basically speak up and, you know, introduce yourself basically.
In person would really help to get that connect going on.
How many of you were introverts before you kind of, you know, went there and realized it's not working for you? Rutvij is raising his hand. South, what would you like to say? You're not talking, so I'm now going to talk to you. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? And how did you navigate through this whole RATA asking kind of a thing?
So starting off with your question, I was never an introvert. I've always been someone who loves networking and socializing. So that way I find things really nice. Coming to my course curriculum, all of that. I really love my curriculum because it has it offers a lot of flexibility. It has courses pertaining to data science, data analytics, business analytics, consulting. It holds true to the name of an information science and studies master's, which in other terms could also be known as information systems. So before coming here, I was of a different opinion that I could be someone who would be more interested in taking up more of consulting courses, because I used to keep myself a bit away from coding. But then after coming here, exploring a couple of courses in the first semester, I ensured to take a bunch of both technical and consulting courses. And I realized that even though I like consulting, but I started developing interest towards the technical field, namely data science, data analytics.
That's amazing. How did you, I mean, I'm curious now, how did you develop suddenly an interest in, the technical side as well? I mean, that's really interesting to know.
Yeah. So there's this particular professor named as Professor Bezer who teaches a compulsory course here, which is data statistical models and information. And her assignments are really good. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy doing each and every assignment. And the way she, went about the class and the structure of her curriculum was too good. So that is when I realized that, okay, if I'm able to do it, then I can definitely, keep this as a strong option considering my career going forward. So I then started doing more projects towards, data science, data analytics, and started studying more about the same. So yeah, definitely keep your mind and keep an open mind and keep your options open, because it definitely might change after coming here once you see the job opportunities, once you also try to explore your interest further, and try to not fixate yourself to something particular. That is very important. And second most important thing is, even though the curriculum is flexible and it has wonderful subjects, there could be a couple of subjects which could go wrong. So that is why it's very important to converse with seniors and talk to them about the same, which courses to choose based on your interest, which courses to drop. Coming to the RA and TA opportunities, again, for my program in particular, there's no TA and RA tuition fee waiver. It's on a grad hourly basis. It's a flat rate, and usually TAs and course assistants get paid, let's say, anywhere between $14 to $18 per hour. And if you're an RA, so RA could also be paid and unpaid. So if you're a paid RA, you could as well as get up to $22 per hour. And currently I'm an RA, and previously in the last semester I was a course assistant. So yeah, I've had the opportunity to experience both of them. And apart from these, there are a lot of part-time opportunities. The university has a dedicated portal named as Virtual Job Board, where time and again there'll be opportunities coming up regarding your part-time. There could be some part-time which could be relevant to your course and curriculum, and there could be something as good as dining or working at the bookstore. So part-time here at UIUC is never going to be a problem in that regard.
That's really that's a relief to know for a lot of students. In fact, students and especially parents are, especially after COVID, for whatever reasons, it's a little difficult, and students are worried about whether I'll be able to work part-time or not. How many of you had like this initial fear of working? I know a lot of our students have told us that I worked as a barista, and that in fact I remember one of the students was telling me that I was working as a barista, and there was this group of people one day who were just sitting, and one of them was a director of a company, and I just had a word, like while serving them, just a normal conversation, and he handed me a card and said, "Come for an interview." So such things have happened. Anything like that has happened with any of you?
It happened. Well, I did not work as a barista, so my RA was it was a DevOps kind of thing. I got in, displayed my acumen for DevOps, told the professor about my acumen for cybersecurity, and so I was an RA for a year and a half or something, and yeah, so the first 6 odd months were in DevOps, and then the rest of it I was just like all over wherever that I was required, including cybersecurity itself. So there's also within, after you get into an RA, at least you can move laterally. Mm-hmm. The important thing is getting there. The important thing is getting there, well, making yourself known, networking, all of that, sure. but it's also making sure that your assessors, the people who are responsible for making decisions affecting your job, they have a very good understanding of how you are doing as one of the people that reports to them, of your abilities, of what you want to do. That's kind of how it is. So
Right, thanks. And there are some questions coming in, I think, and some students are also addressing it to you guys. So in case if you see something addressed to you, please feel free to just post a reply to that as well. I think Abhishri has been doing, if you guys see something, so if someone's addressed any question to you, please feel free to, keep posting comments, and I'll take them up towards the end as well. Moving on to the job situation in the US. Currently, okay, a lot of questions are targeted towards that actually, and students are really skeptical about how does this whole thing about transitioning to an OPT and then from an OPT to the H1B, how does that work? And I wish Krunal was here, but then since he has been working, but I'm sure your inputs are also going to be like really like the treasure for us, right? So I would want to kind of talk, if you could just throw some light on how was this whole journey of transitioning to an OPT, how easy or difficult was it to get to look for a job after graduation, especially people who have graduated and have been working, for them. And even for those who are studying right now, when you see your seniors and the kind of efforts that they are putting in for getting in the jobs and everything, what is your take on it? It will be really interesting to know. So yeah, I mean, who would like to go? Vidhi, would you like to talk about it first?
Sure. So I basically graduated in December 2020, and I think I faced a lot of hardships to find my job because I was in that phase when COVID was not at its peak, but the job market was very dull, I would say. My OPT basically started in Feb 2021, and I could not find a job. So there was an unpaid internship, which I did for about 6 months to save my OPT days. And finally, I bagged my job in June 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the job market right now is pretty good. Everyone has opportunities in every field, not just computer science or MIS, anything. We have people right now who are working in all fields. So it's just a matter of time that you will get a job. It also depends on luck, hard work, and persistence, all three. So I would also suggest that when you are finding it difficult to find a job, don't first look out for E-Verified. If you are not finding a job, for you, the first option is to find a job, not whether the company is E-Verified or not, so that it would sponsor you. Mm-hmm. There are people so basically I'm talking about my entire case and my set of friends who actually graduated during the time of COVID, and we were finding difficult to find a job at least. So there were friends of mine as well who actually found a small company who could actually provide them a job, give them experience about 2-3 months or 4 months. And after that, they could switch to good companies that could sponsor them. So if you're not finding a job, just don't lose hope. Every student in the US is getting a job. Some will get it sooner, some will get it later. But be there, just work hard, work smart as well. Apply to companies, reach out to seniors, reach out to industry people, connect to them over LinkedIn. Also, if you've worked, one thing I wanted to share is I had a work experience of a year in India. So I had very good relationships with my managers, and my manager was in US and I was in India. So when I came to US, she was the one who actually supported me a lot. She contacted me to a vice president of a company named as IDT. And that person was staying very nearby to my place where I was staying back then. I had an informal meet with that person, and he could help me schedule a job interview. I did not pass it, that was a different story, but at least I got to talk to him. I got to meet people over emails, also over LinkedIn. So connecting to seniors, connecting via LinkedIn, and always whenever students are reaching out to even mentors or even industry people over LinkedIn, always shoot them a message, because they might be having different work schedules. They might have missed out on your email. Just send out an message with LinkedIn that, hey, this is me and I am connecting you for this reason, so that your name pops up and that person would be like, okay, yes, I have to respond to this person. And definitely everyone over here is wanting to help, but you have to be vocal enough and ask them. So I think that's it. I mean, if there are any other questions, if any other students want us to answer as mentors, and your questions are not being answered, feel free to reach out to all of us over LinkedIn.
Thanks a lot, Vidhi. Abhishri, there's a question from one student here. What background does MS in finance require? I think it also encompasses, like, what background to get into an MS in finance, plus how is your background important to get a job later. So maybe if you could throw a little bit of light on that. And then I would also like to talk to Stuti again about her whole experiences, and in fact everyone turn by turn in terms of their job experiences. So Abhishri, would you like to talk a little bit about MS in finance requirement, the background?
Sure, absolutely. I saw a couple of questions with that. Thought I'll answer it live.
Yeah.
So in terms of background, I would say that one thing is that you do not need a very strong background in finance to come for a master in finance. So it is not necessary for you to have a bachelor's in finance or commerce or a BBA or something before this. It's completely fine to have an engineering background or a psychology background or a history background or any liberal arts, and for that matter. When you apply for a master's in general, I think, especially, and I'll talk specifically about my university because that's the most research I have for. What they mainly look for is not how much of this field you've done before in your life, but more how you see your life being developed through this program, why you think this program is needed in your life, and what you're going to do as part of the university. Whether you have a good idea about how this fits in your career and how you are going to actually contribute when you come here, how you're going to fit in here. So all of that is what is more important. Similarly, like, for example, I think somebody said that you do not need research experience when applying for an RA. You do not need prior experience for anything on paper. Obviously, having that can help in a lot of ways. Like for me, having work experience before this helped me in getting traction from some recruiters. For sure, that works. But again, about 70% of my batch is people right out of their undergrads. And since we have such a big international population here, I saw that the background that people come from is engineering, and then when it's engineering, it's not even mainstream engineering. They come from aeronautics. A lot of people come from physics and chemistry backgrounds. A lot of people also come from liberal arts backgrounds, mathematics. Some of them have some finance experience before this. Sometimes their exposure to finance is just through internships, because if like internationally there's a lot more focus on doing practical work in internships during summers and winters. So that's the only experience or exposure that people have to finance. I think somebody was also asking in the chat about should you have a CFA or an ISM or something on your resume. Again, I'd say it's not necessary. So whatever you do and you choose to put on your resume, do it only if you feel interested towards it, if you are passionate about it, and not just as a line item, because at the end of the day, if you start doing a CFA, for example, it's not an easy course. It's a lot more perseverance, and it's not cheap as well. So it costs you in every dimension. And you should do it only if you are actually interested in it, if you're actually going to complete it. Because having just one line item that says like cleared CFA level 1 or level 2 can just be a tick mark. It can be a good to have, but again, it does not guarantee that you will get admission to finance universities just because you have that background. So the major focus when it comes to applications is just having a very keen interest, having like showcasing all of that in your essays, and then hopefully you get interviews through that, and then actually, being honest and genuine in your essays and your interviews. So I think that plays the major role. To talk about opportunities, once you come here, I'll talk about some of the rosy aspects as well as some of the hardships. I think everybody's stressed enough about networking and the importance. One major change from the way recruiting works back at home is that in most of our undergrad universities, when we were looking for jobs or internships, there is a placement unit or a career office that really helps in the whole process. And honestly, it's a lot of spoon feeding that happens at that stage because of how recruiting works in India. And all you have to do is maybe have a resume, maybe have a cover letter, a couple of documents that show your interest and circulate it. And it's all about just landing the interview. And the stage of landing the interview is much, much easier in India, even after undergraduate degrees. So that aspect is actually the most difficult here, because the way the recruiting journey looks very different for different people. For example, for me, I networked a lot for 3 to 4 months, and the whole process is so exhausting and time consuming that you need to really be sure of what you want to do with that clarity, and having a good strategy of how you're going to go through the whole process. And at the same time, having good backup options, because right now the market is quite hot. So it's easier to get jobs than how it was in COVID probably. But at the same time, with the whole competition and everything, you might not get your first choice, your second choice. So always having backups helps. At the same time, the networking, like the recruiting journey is so different, because sometimes you network for a very long time and then you get exhausted, and then suddenly out of nowhere, some opportunity comes up. The place from where you get your job or your internship might not be the place you network the most. And you might never know the place you networked 3 months ago sort of picked you and remembered you, and the opportunity works. So always be open to networking. It's a very difficult process. For me, it was extremely challenging because I never enjoyed it, like for starters, and I was never good at it. So, and I think you never really get good at it. It's like, especially if you're not extremely extroverted and you do not haven't done it for too long, it's definitely a lot more challenging. And that was one of not so rosy aspects of the job hunt here. Secondly, do not get disheartened, because there are cycles for recruiting, and a lot of times people do not get recruited in the cycle, but that doesn't mean that you won't get your internships or jobs. It's all about just being at it, keeping extremely patient, keeping faith that you will find something. Maybe not your first option, but again, it's just a step towards a longer term goal that you can set for yourself. Secondly, I think most masters have like an internship inbuilt before a full-time as well. So I think the internship plays a very critical role, because sometimes experience back in India does not really count as very valid experience here, especially if you're trying to break into finance. So it's always good to have good internship experience, because most of the internships do lead to full-time roles. Like about 90 to 95% of the people who interned here at whichever fund or bank, they actually converted it to full-time roles. So really focusing most of your efforts in internships helps. But at the same time, if you do not land the internship that was your dream job, that's not the end of the world, because you come back to school after summer for another 5 months and you get a completely new market to start from scratch for full-time roles. So there's always a lot of opportunity. There's always a lot of help and resources. But the key is just to have a lot of faith and patience and keep working persistently, like throughout the time, because there will be times of panic when you will go crazy with recruiting. That's what happened with me. Like one weekend, I was like really stressed about not getting an internship, and I went crazy applying for one whole weekend. And then there will be suddenly periods like 2 weeks where you will be burdened with coursework, and then you will forget about finding a job. But the key is to just keep balance and like keep doing it consistently. That would be my 2 cents.
Great. And Stuti,
I just wanted to talk
sorry,
about
go
something.
ahead. Yeah.
So those were all of them are good points, very, very well made. One, and I'm talking about something that builds on top of that. People talk about getting to an interview. People don't talk about what happens after. To get here, to get to the job I am in right now, I had to go through five rounds of technical interviews. So that's pure core hour-long interviews, just technical stuff, right? Just like whatever, right? Without HR stuff involved, whatever. So that is exhausting. You explain over 5 hours, they can ask you about things that you have not heard of. And there will be points wherein you're going to be like, you know what, I don't know what you're talking about. The finding a job is stressful, yes. Getting an interview is a win, yes. But it's, I don't know if the recruitment process has changed. I got my job during COVID-ish, I guess, a year ago. I don't know if it's since changed, but there's also like a lot of effort that you have to put in after the first interview that people don't talk about. So you and this is important, right? Because you want to get the job, right? So you have to set aside the first thing that you'll have to drop in order to prepare for the interviews is your coursework. So finding a balance it's tough, man, honestly.
Prithvij, this gets me curious when you say, you have to put in a lot of efforts after your first round of interview, especially in a technical field like cybersecurity or, core computer science, roles. Could you be a little specific about, what exactly are the efforts that you're talking about? Maybe getting onto lead code, just, what exactly should people do, to kind of crack these technical rounds?
I write code very often, but it's not like what I do, It's a small part of what I do. It's not something the job requires. It's something that I know that is helping a lot. So I can't talk about lead code a lot.
No, that's just an example. I'm just saying, in your field, what do you do to crack those technical interviews?
You ask them. You ask them. What do you look for? Yeah, you ask them. What do you think this interview is going to comprise? What questions can I expect? I mean, it doesn't hurt. So I asked so for one interview, I asked what are you looking for, right? So they said, just look up AWS concept. We'll ask you about AWS and we'll ask you about your basic basics of networking, like computer networking. So I'm like, okay, and I opened whatever notes I had on my on networking and cloud, and I just went through those, It's
and do you think these online courses help? Like, if you take up any of these online courses, do you think that would help?
As in like Udemy and stuff?
Anything that's available. Do you suggest anything like that? Anything that has helped you per se in preparing?
The courses themselves go from, so there's they go from absolutely garbage to they are so good, but I can't make the most of them. You know, it's more the certifications that matter, if at all they do. So for a cloud-oriented field, having a cloud certification matters. You know? So you take the test for AWS, for example. That's what I did. I got an AWS certification, and that helped a lot, right? Now, so okay, there's a certification, and there'll be classes for said certification. Now, those on Udemy are fine. Courses are only as good as you make of them. It's online courses or otherwise. I mean, just having that on your resume, having the course passed on your resume isn't going to count. Not at all. People should be very careful about what they put on the resume. If I put, Udemy. So I did this machine learning. There's this very popular machine learning course on Coursera. I forget the name, but anyway, it's like, yeah, that one, exactly that one. Yeah, and I mean, I did it. It was fun, good time pass. But I'm not going to put it on my resume, because if it's on my resume, it's fair game. The interview is going to ask me, and I don't want him to ask me about that because I don't know anything about it. Right? So I have a course. I have an online course that I completed from a reputable. Well, there was no need for the air quotes, from a reputable online education service provider. It's on my resume, but I mean, what am I doing with it? You know?
Got it. So you have to be.
Go ahead.
So basically, you have to. You may also want to throw some light on, a lot of things, that people don't know back here in India. Students, out here we have the standard resume, and we just send that for every job. But how do you might have to tweak your resume and put it a little different based on. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. That's what a lot of. You didn't do it. You just had one standard format.
I had one standard resume.
And how many places did you send out to the resume?
Were quite a few. I sent out. I didn't bother with any of that, actually. So
okay.
let's just let's get in touch with someone. Let's talk to them about how it is. The career fairs are very, very nice, man. But because of COVID, they had to stop. Career fairs are very good. You show up and you get actual face time with the person.
Right.
And they know what you're talking about. I am. So you remember how we were talking about being introverted?
Yeah.
I was an introvert prior to coming. I have become an absolute hermit. Like, I've become reclusive, incredibly reclusive even after. But I don't like talking about myself. I don't like how do I say it? So even like resumes and stuff like that, I didn't bother with any of that. Like, get me in an interview, I'll talk to you. I mean, we can talk about it all day. I like talking about this stuff. That's the whole point, right? That is. So yeah, in a nutshell, I digress, but I had one single resume. I didn't even have a cover letter.
What was your experience, Stuti?
I guess everyone has covered most of things. But so when I came to US, I didn't have any work experience. Like, I didn't even have any internships in India or any job experience. So for me, it was like a completely new area, trying to understand how the recruiting works in US and how do companies actually take you on for interviews. I started with preparing my resume. Obviously, the career fair is something that really, really helped me. Career fair and the job posting. So every university will have their internal job board or job posting. So you can just apply there because they are looking for people from that university. Like, the jobs are posted or meant to be targeted towards those university students. So I started from there. I kept applying. Like, I kept applying to at least 20 jobs a day or something. Every day I used to wake up and apply for jobs.
And did you change your resume slightly for each job?
No, I created a template resume that I could put for any job. For some roles which were my preference, I would also add a cover letter. But in terms of resume, just a simple resume, like a single targeted industry resume that I could put for any job. Just prepare that and keep applying. And yeah, anything you put on your resume, like would be, you will be grilled on that. So anything you put, like this is my skill set. I know Python, or I know machine learning. So they will ask you in-depth technical questions on that. So yeah, you have to be prepared for that.
Obviously, like if you say you like reading, and if you ask you what was the last book you read, you better answer. Okay, South, what about you? What was your experience?
Sorry to interrupt. One thing I just remembered. One very important thing my seniors told me to said this really important bit, right, to me. They're like, treat job hunting as a proper 12-hour university course. Like, you give 12 hours of your week. You should, and I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of what my friends did was not account for the time they take to job hunt. They didn't account for it at all. And at Carnegie Mellon, everyone's working some 70 hours a week already. I myself, I was working 15 hours a day, 6 days a week. And, and I'm like, okay, fine, listen, I'll have to account for a good 12 hours per week of job hunting inside that, including interviews, including everything. It's important to just to have that in mind when you're planning your week or whatever.
South, coming to you, this is really important, Rutvij. I want you to hold on to that, because there are going to be, I think, more questions related to H1B and, how do you transition? This is really important. South, what is your take on, how do you find jobs, or how have you found your internships, or have you seen your seniors doing it? What was your, track basically to this?
Yeah. So because the curriculum overall is not very hectic over here, particularly at my campus, that is something because of which I can leverage the residual time to hunt for internships and upskill myself. So that is something what most of the people in my cohort do, and most of the people have landed internships already. Even I am currently in progress of internships. I'm hunting actively, and I have a couple of interviews in the coming week. And talking about full-time experiences, I'm in close touch with a couple of seniors who are working at ZS, who are working at a BCG, who are working at Discover. Full-time job hunt is comparatively easier than internship job hunt, I would say. Internship job hunt is slightly difficult, especially when you are someone who has not had any work experience, and on top of that does not have any luck as well. So if these two things combine together, then definitely it becomes challenging, but there's nothing to be sad about or get disheartened. Patience is the key. It's actually the key, because it could be very intimidating at times, these job hunting experiences that again and again you sit, you apply, fill in those details, upload your resume. Some weird companies would also ask some mandatory compulsory questions that you'll have to type in, and you might just lose your calm, but that is how it is. All of these experiences do teach you something, and definitely patience is very important while applying for internships.
Speaking of patience, how many jobs would you suggest people should apply to on a general, if I have to just say apply randomly, so how many would you suggest? Is it a number game?
It's very subjective, to be honest, because my roommate, he just applied to 70 and he got in an internship just last semester. I have
70. 70.
Yeah, 70. I have applied to easily over 300 internships, and it's like that. So that is the whole game over here. And coming to the resume, I would like to especially talk about, networking in a way that you reach out to people and, try to get in referrals, because getting referrals is very important. I myself have, got quite a few aptitude tests just because I had a referral, and usually that, company does not send out otherwise to people who do not have referrals. So it does be like that sometimes. So it's very important to take your time separately to reach out to people, to connect over LinkedIn also, especially speak to your dad. I mean, that is what has worked out for me, to be very honest, because your dad is someone, even for that matter your mom, if both of them are working, so in that regard, they'll have their own network, right? So you can start building one from there onwards, and it definitely helps. So some companies back in India, their referral also works here if they have a branch over here. So these are some pointers that I have acquired from my internship hunt. And that is definitely something that someone who's hunting for internship should look after. Referrals are key. Referrals are a must. So if you get them, it's really good to go forward with.
That's great. I see that you guys have already answered a lot of questions. Let me just pick some questions randomly, which I feel, a lot of other people who are also, looking at this live later on would probably, have in mind.
I have one thing,
please
just
go
a
ahead.
small thing. It's a funny thing, but I have heard people telling me and experienced myself that finding a job is a full-time job in itself. Because as everyone mentioned, that you have to get up in the morning, sit for applying to job postings, and it is very stressful, but you just go through it and
you learn a lot.
You just go through the entire day and apply to as many as possible. And you were talking about numbers, right? Is there a particular number to find a job? I would say there isn't any number. It all depends. It depends from case to case. For me, I think I've applied to more than 3,000 probably for both my internships and jobs. 3,000 probably.
That's
crazy. I don't have a number. I had an Excel sheet wherein I used to get up like 8 in the morning, start applying to jobs, and just mention it whether I have received any response, because some of the job postings would not even respond. So you just keep on applying and trying your luck. There isn't any number.
Yeah, you spoke like someone from analytics. I had an Excel sheet and I actually did this and that. So that's what tells me. Okay.
I'd like to add some more points, actually, Sneha, if you don't mind.
Of course, I don't mind. Of course, I don't mind. Please go ahead.
Okay. So talking more about the recruiting aspects, I had a slightly different strategy, and I think that totally depends on the kind of industry and the kind of roles that you're applying to. The ones that I was applying to was mainly so within finance, I was applying to fundamental investing or value investing, fundamental research, all of those like portfolio management kind of roles. And I think my strategy was to not actually apply to hundreds of places, because that's what I had sort of understood from talking to people at these funds, or from seniors, or from the the career office at my university. My strategy was actually to stay focused on a small list, which was my focus list, and because the key was actually networking. In fact, sending out a resume or a cover letter, no matter how fancy it is, even in terms of content, would not make much difference in terms of traction, because just sending out a resume has very low chances of you landing your interview here, unless there's another thing that students can look out to when they are applying, is to see whether the job posting, how active it is. And sometimes on LinkedIn, you can see whether it is actively recruiting or not. And even if you have people working at the firm, who can give you a referral, can give you an idea of how actively the company is recruiting right now. For example, extremely big firms that recruit hundreds of students every year have job postings out for like 6 months. They might finish recruiting in the first 1 month, but they might still have all of these job postings advertised everywhere. And seeing like those big names, people still keep applying with the hope that they will hear something. But then like the internship period comes in and you don't hear from any of the places you applied to. Because our hope is that we apply to like 100 places thinking that we might hear back from at least 10. That's like the success rate you keep in mind when you apply and stuff, but that doesn't work. So that's why my strategy was to apply to a handful first, network really well in them, see the traction I was getting, and then move on to a secondary list and a third list.
So you actually connected with someone. Yeah, you actually connected with them on LinkedIn, had a chat, informal. Yeah, got to know about the job profile.
Exactly.
And like that.
Exactly. Like I had a small list of like 10 to 12 funds, which were like my first preference. And you work really hard on them in the beginning, and you get a fair amount of research. You talk to like 2 to 3 people at least in that firm to get a very good idea of what the fund does and everything. And then you move forward, because even after you speak to 3 or 4 people, there's a chance that you might not actually get the interview like with the person who's actually in charge for recruiting. So, but the good thing is that none of this ever goes waste, because at the end of the day, speaking to people helps you develop yourself when it comes to going out and talking about yourself, because honestly, it is very hard to go and talk about yourself. It's an easy topic to think about it, but it's very difficult to sit in front of a Zoom screen and just keep talking about yourself when people are asking you. So, so like talking to people about your experience or asking them about their experience never goes waste, because you ultimately learn something from that conversation. So that was one. My second point was actually about staying organized. Like Vidhi said about maintaining an Excel sheet. That's what I did, because I had like one big Excel sheet where whichever event I went to, or whichever person I spoke, or some friend of mine reached out to some person in their domain, and I could get a contact from that particular company. Putting all of that on one Excel sheet and literally sitting with that Excel sheet the whole day helps, because I'm like staying organized. It actually helped me a lot in the whole process. And since my number of places I applied to was not very big, it wasn't as difficult to manage. But again, like at one company, trying to get as deep as you can in terms of understanding what it does was, I think, what worked for me. And lastly, I think one of the things that all students should take advantage of is the Alumni Network, because when you go out on LinkedIn and you try to reach out to people, it is very hard if you reach out to somebody randomly working at a company you like, if they don't know you at all. So even if you tell them you're looking for an internship, you're interested, there is a very little probability that you might get responses from all those people. So but if they are people from your university, it helps a lot, because they know they faced the same thing when they were in the university. So they're actually willing to help. They want to get in touch with you, and it's much more easier to connect and move along the process that way. So just take advantage of all the alumni network. I think that was also one of the things that worked a lot for me. So yeah, that's all.
Thanks a lot, Abhishri. That was really, really valuable. There is one question for John. Can you explain your journey getting your UMass Amherst admit, extra courses, what to focus on, LOR? So this is a little bit more going back towards your transition. Basically, how did you get into UMass? Maybe you did cover that, but John, could you just talk a little bit about it? Is John there right now?
Yeah, I am there.
You haven't spoken much, John. I want you to talk about your journey now. What was your journey about UMass Amherst? I mean, Tejas has asked this question. and he's really interested into, how to build his profile basically.
One thing I want to know is that, no one can answer specifically that, why someone got an admit in a particular course, because the general trend I've observed is that universities keep changing what they usually have as an admission criteria. So you'll sometimes see that, a particular years they are going for candidates with higher GRE, and, sometimes it all appears so random. Uh, what I want to say is that, I don't think I prepared my profile in terms of, hey, I want to get my UMass admit, but general things to keep in mind is that your LORs need to be as relevant to the course you're applying as possible. It's good to be technically sound in your LOR, because you'll observe a lot of people will, just put things like, hey, this person was good at this subject and used to attend lectures regularly, and was good at practicals and things like that, and those kind of things won't really help. So there obviously have to be a fair few personal elements in the LORs. In terms of extra courses, I don't really think I did anything to prepare for UMass specifically, because the subjects themselves were like, the profs were pretty good, in pointing out things like, where to study from, what textbooks to refer, what online resources to read up, and things like that. But having said that, I actually mentioned this earlier in one of the questions. I think it's important for you guys that the time that you have before you fly off, from the time you get your admit to the time you actually fly, it's very necessary for you to upskill yourself in terms of the job industry you want to work in, because that's something you absolutely won't get time to start from scratch once you come here, because you'll all be, essentially what is going to happen is that the first month might be chill. It's you are just starting off, you're exploring things. The initial assignments will be easy and things like that. And from the second month, it is going to be heavy, because the assignments all, come at the level they are expected to be, and things like that. So while you are focusing academically, and then as many of the panelists pointed out, you'll have to devote significant time to job search. But what about job prep? Now that is something you can, really help yourself by focusing, taking time out for it while you are in India, because it's really difficult to start it from scratch, because it's one of the many things you'll have to do extra while you are in the US. So I think that was another thing that was a good advice I got from my senior. So I did spend, a fair amount of time in making sure I did things like lead code and everything. And while you are in the course, it's always good to take up practical subjects with projects in them, because it's, the more recent things you state in your resume, the better it is for companies to gauge where you stand. It's always good for companies to see, this candidate did something good very recently, and that's always a plus point to talk about in your resume. So I think it's important that you make sure to utilize time well. I know that being in India, in most of the colleges, there's a tendency, hey, we'll do everything at the last moment and still end up getting good marks. You might get good marks doing something similar, but it's definitely not going to help you in the long run, when you have like so many things to do, maybe whether it is your TA on campus job or whatever. So yeah, just make sure you utilize your time well, and don't slack off at any point.
Right. That's really insightful, John, because it's, at the end of the day, it's also about how you manage your priorities, and how you actually focus on the whole process. And this whole, I think somewhere this whole application process also must have prepared you mentally, at least, to take this kind of rigorous workload, and everything that Stuti and Vidhi and everyone was talking about, how they basically manage their time and everything there. It basically starts right from India, when you're applying to all, when you're doing all these things that you just mentioned, John, right? So yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I think so. One point I want to add is that, I think people can always make their applications better, because I just think that, it's good to get started early, because you'll find a tendency that, if say your deadline is on December 15, you start filling your form on December 10th, you will always see a tendency in yourself to, oh, this field may not be important. Let me just, skip it or not pay a lot of attention to it. So, like you rightly said, if you get started early and, make sure you, diligently fill your forms and everything, I think that gives you a nice head start in what you can expect in life over here, because that kind of thing you'll also face, like filling your job applications. A lot of job applications will have additional questions like, hey, what's a cool skill that you have? You just can't say, hey, I'm good at Python. You are supposed to justify why you say that. And if suppose the job application is closing in 2 days, you may want to, write a smaller answer instead of a longer one. So yeah, again, time management is a very important skill, and by getting started on your applications early, I think you'll pick that up pretty fast.
Exactly. And there are some questions here, and let's address the questions quickly since we are now, close to our time. I mean, I'm sure all of you have covered a lot. In fact, and some of these questions you have personally answered them as well. I'm just looking at some of the questions here quickly. Some of them are basically, into more profile, analysis, like, hey, I have this and I have that. Is my profile suitable? I think, that would require more, in-depth analysis also. So anyone who's asking, a question like, hey, what is my prospect of getting into a mechanical engineering in US? Okay. Something like that. I think mechanical engineering, we have not covered a lot of that here. But if anybody would want to throw a light on it, I see people from the MIS and analytics and cybersecurity background and everything. Mechanical engineering, I'm sure you guys, if you can't, answer that right now, you can just, connect them with anybody in your, LinkedIn, connections who are your friends and all, who can, talk to them about things like SCM, supply chain. I mean, any one of you has any work experience or anything that in that particular thing, please feel free to, target those. There are questions about, general doctorate of pharmacists, kind of options here. Food and nutrition, food science. I'm sure that's not something that we have covered today because of the backgrounds that you guys have. We have spoken obviously more related to your backgrounds. But please just, in case if you have any inputs, just reply to those students and, maybe, connect them with someone on LinkedIn if you have someone. Omkar is asking here how to make my profile strong. Omkar, this is something general and we'll have to look at your profile one-on-one. So in the chat box, we are dropping a message, where you can actually book a one-on-one appointment with any of the counselors. So please make sure that, you book an appointment and then you'll be connected to any one of us. And then we'll evaluate your profile one-on-one and we'll give you, your options, what you should do to, make your profile strong and things like that. All those things we can, connect one-on-one with you, because that will be too much, to cover in depth without understanding your profile. It's like, going to a doctor and, without a report and, trying to diagnose what is happening with you. So we'll request all of you who have asked very pointed, like particular specific questions about their profile, do connect one-on-one with us. We have put in the the link in the chat box here. Just fill the form there and you will be connected to a counselor within 24 to 48 hours. There's a question for Rutvij here. I have an admit from MISM business development 16 months program at CMU. Is there a way to apply for an RA opportunity before the classes? I think you've covered that.
No chance.
That's difficult. It's actually very difficult. From all the conversations that we've seen with you all of you, in fact, it's you need to have more of a personal connect, and you need to understand their course. You need to prove yourself first of all, and then you can expect something like this, right?
Okay, so let me just put this issue to bed. Let's just address this. This friend of mine he's like this super genius guy, right? He's the guy has patents to his name. Like that's how smart this guy is. He has so he'll apply not for an H1B but something called an O1 visa. I don't know what all of that is. You get that visa only if you do some groundbreaking research, if you have like a lot of patents and all. And he had those before he came. He got more when he came, but he had those before he came, and he still didn't get an RA. So there is no chance for you to get an RA before coming. Let's just put it out there.
I get it. There's one more question which we have not answered here in this whole thing. Any one of you who would like to talk about, if you applied to a company which was not in your state, in your graduating state, how difficult was it to hear back from the companies, and how did you prepare for these online interviews? I'm sure COVID mein to everything was online only, but how did they like respond to you and everything if you're outside the state?
So I will answer that. Pittsburgh is in Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh is where CMU is. 95% of the graduates will be either in SF in the Bay Area where I am right now, or they'll be in New York. So yeah, does make a difference. At least locations won't make a difference.
Don't make a difference.
Yeah, I completely agree to that, because Champaign again is a suburb 2 hours away from Chicago. And most of my seniors, they are either working at Chicago or Seattle or SF or New York. So these major city and states. And definitely, I mean, during the time of internships, it might play some or the other role to have your campus at a good location. But again, it's nothing, very major or a groundbreaking rule or a groundbreaking metric at all. Because at the end of the day, you send out your applications throughout the US, and that is how it works. It is as simple as that.
The only difference, the only thing that comes into the picture is career fairs. But that's not happening now because of COVID. So yeah,
And what about Abhishri? You might want to throw some light on this. What if someone's transitioning from engineering to finance? What courses should they add to their profile?
Okay,
and what things should they focus on because they're making this transition?
Absolutely. I don't have an engineering background, but some of the people who are from India in the program do have engineering backgrounds. So one, I can connect students to them on LinkedIn, but talking from their experience, most of them did not have too much of finance background. So they had a little bit on their resume in terms of some work that was remotely related to finance. For example, if somebody's working in Goldman Sachs, they work with like developing software for a finance team, or they work with like traders on developing some tool for them. So it's like that. So few of them had are like pursuing CFA right now along with their degree, or they were doing it with their work experience before this. Sometimes they have experience with doing some econ courses or some statistics courses as part of their engineering degrees. So all of these are just different things that different people have done. Again, there's no standard. And like I said earlier, like anything you do when you choose to put it as part of your resume or even like include it as part of your experience, do it only if it interests you. And if you think you'll get some value out of that whole learning process. Merely doing it just because you think it might look fancy to a university or a company is not the best idea. So choose to do any courses you do on Coursera or anything else also. Do it if you think you'll get some learning experience out of it. I think that will go a long way.
And there's one more thing which will, which is related to finance. I think if you're moving out from a different undergrad degree, so let's say a BTech in mechanical with a very low GPA. Obviously, I got a low GPA because I was not really interested in mechanical and I was interested in finance. I'm now going to finance. But let's just say, how difficult is this transition going to be, and how is the GPA of a mechanical engineering program going to, affect this whole move? What do you think about
I think
this?
GPA from different programs doesn't affect, but if it's a low GPA, I think when it comes to GPA and your GMAT or GRE scores, from what I've seen is that all universities can have an average or a median score. Some of them have a minimum cutoff. So as long as you clear the cutoff or you are close to the mean or above it, it's okay, because these are like very objective numbers that do not talk much about how you would be as a candidate. They're only to filter out. So if you clear that, I think it should be good enough. There's nothing to worry. But at the same time, the focus should be on building a strong profile overall. So if your GPA is low, maybe focusing on building very good essays, having good recommendations on your profile. Some of the universities have like video interviews you submit in your application. So maybe putting in more effort towards making that a strong aspect of your profile helps, because like a fully balanced profile helps. So any strong area in one is not going to make you outshine, really. And I think from my experience to applying to universities, the essays were like the focus. The essays and my recommendations from like the company I worked at before, those were the two highlights that worked for me, I think. So maybe putting most of your energy on your essays rather than trying to get like the highest GMAT or GRE score by multiple attempts would be a better strategy.
Excellent. So that brings us to the end of a lot of these questions. Some of these questions are really very profile specific. So I would again suggest you guys to fill that one-on-one counseling session link, and we'll try to address them. Guys, I would also like to request you that if you've not done so already, please put in your LinkedIn profiles on the chat box, because a lot of people might want to connect with you later. And of course they will connect you with a personal message, and which says that they attended your live session, and that's how they're going to connect to you. So please, if possible, whenever possible, just please reach out to them and help them. That would be great. That would be something really grateful. We'll really be grateful. All our student committee will be really grateful to all of you for that. And before we wrap this up, any final parting comments for Ram? I know we've just outstretched our time beyond, but any final parting comments from all of you for our existing batch of students or students who are watching us live on YouTube? There's someone who's asking, where can I get this recording? My friend, you will see this on YouTube. Follow us, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and you will find this. It's forever going to be there. So yeah, any parting comments from all of you, please? Vidhi, would you like to go first, just to name out?
Oh my God. I would just say that, first of all, I'm not ready what I should say, but I would just say that keep hanging in there. Everything will be good. And this is just the first step for all of you in this world of coming to the US. There is a different story altogether over here. It's full of ups and downs, but I'm sure you will enjoy it.
Great. John, again, quickly, 10 seconds. I would like to hear you. What do you want to say about this whole journey?
I just want to say that it's okay to be afraid. I know a lot of you are going to feel overwhelmed with the whole process and then the prospect of stepping outside India and things like that. But it will all be fine. Just make sure that, you help yourself, you talk to a lot of people, and make sure you do your homework at all points. And I think you'll do well.
Thank you so much. Abhishri?
Yeah, so my parting words would be, again, whatever they said, is to just not worry too much. It will work out. And also learn how to cook, learn how to clean, learn all the life skills before you come to the US. And even if you don't, you'll still manage. But if you really want to have a good time, learn all the life skills before you come here. Because even though it's a hard life here, it's a lot more enjoyable doing all of that along with your work or your studies. So and at the same time, don't worry too much. There's ample help available, and there are ample seniors who are willing to help you and get through it.
Thank you so much. South?
Yeah, I think Abhishek just stole a couple of my words, but it's fine. It's very important to cook, at least learn 7 of your mom's special dishes, so that you don't feel homesick as soon as you come over here. Then as much as it's very crucial to focus on the curriculum and job hunt, do not forget to remove time for your own self and go out with friends, enjoy some of the weekends, and explore the resources at the university. It's very important. Talk to your seniors. It's very, very important to talk to your seniors. I mean, if you're someone who will be still coming over here and be like, oh, I'm so shy, I won't talk to seniors, then you might miss out on a lot of important stuff. It'd be about the university resources, it'd be about the campus events, it'd be about the nitty-gritties of what you should do and what you should avoid. So the do's and don'ts are something that's very important to keep in mind. Spend quality time with your family before coming here, and after you come here, it's going to be a whole different experience. You'll all of a sudden start feeling very mature and responsible, because a lot of responsibilities, some things that you were not able to do back in India, and you were all pampered. You would not have that what is a luxury over here. So that is why it's a whole different experience. You learn a lot. You learn about professionalism. You grow personally as well. So yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much, Saud. Rutvij, quickly.
Yeah. So my peers have already spoken about the cooking part. My advice is get roommates who know how to cook. I didn't cook a lot.
But you will have to clean the dishes. You will have to do something.
No problem. No problem. That's fine. One more piece of advice: don't message me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is hot garbage, and I don't like it at all. Please use the email that I've put.
Okay, you've put your email. Thank you so much. I mean, that's great, Rutvij. Thank you so much.
Yeah, LinkedIn's useless except for the job hunt itself. Don't message me on it, please.
Right. Thank you so much, guys. It was an amazing session. Personally, I have learned a lot from you all today, and it makes us really proud to see where you guys have reached, in your life, and how far you guys are making an impact in your own companies, in your own ways. And even in your colleges, in your universities, you are making a name, not only for yourself, for your country, but also you're making a bright career, and you are showing us a bright light to all the students who are watching you, and who are your seniors, your cousins, maybe even younger to you, who will look forward to coming to US. And your journey is an inspiration, and I'm sorry if, because of the online nature of this platform, I've not been able to give you enough time. I'm sure all of you, some of you have barely been able to speak. So I'm really, really sorry, but you've been gracious enough to answer all the questions in the chat box. And it really amazes me to see that, this kind of community is there for our students. And I hope in future we will connect whenever you are in India, or, even on such online platforms. I look forward to those events. And really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for joining us, especially on a weekend. That's what I have to say. Thank you so much, guys. God bless you all. And I hope you get this karma back in some form or the other, through some kind of, an internship opportunity, or a dream company, or something that happens immediately in the next week. Okay, for you. So thank you so much for joining again. And I wish you all very good luck. Stay safe and have a great weekend, whatever's left of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Thank you.